AITA for kicking my pregnant sister-in-law out of my car for throwing my coffee out the window? I am 29, am not a morning person. Like at all. That's why I work night shifts and sleep in the morning. Days ago I got back from my shift and slept for an hour, then my fiancé woke me up asking me to drive her pregnant sister to the doctor appointment at 10 a.m. I was tired and was supposed to be sleeping but decided to do it. I drove over to Syl's place and she sat in the passenger seat and started bitchin' about bad smell. In my car she said the pine tree air freshener in the rearview mirror and had to go, so I removed it. She then said the pack of Somkis was bothering her but I wasn't smoking. I smiled and put the closed cigarette pack inside the glove compartment. Few seconds later, we were stopping at traffic light when Syl started itching her nose. I looked at her and asked what's wrong. She pointed at my coffee, looked disgusted and said the smell was making her nauseous and told me to throw it out. I refused. See, coffee is my fuel. I get horrific headache if I don't drink it. Also, I paid for it, so there was no way for me to throw it away. She suggested that I drink it all at once then, but it was too hot. I had to take little sips like, you know, normal people do, otherwise my whole mouth be damaged. I covered the top as a solution for her, but she got mad and said I was an ignorant to dismiss a pregnant woman suffering like that. I started moving and a minute later I saw her grabbing my coffee and throwing it out the window. I shouted, "What the fuck?" And she told me that I never listen. I lost it, y'all. I just pulled over and told her I've had enough of her shit and kicked her out. She got into a screaming match with me, calling me names and whatnot. She wanted to get back in, but I locked the door and drove away, leaving her shouting. I got back to my place and my fiancé was at the door looking pissed AF. She said she and her mom were livid. I kicked my Syl out over coffee and making her miss her appointment. She reminded me I was being a jerk to her. I cleared the air on what went down and I was still wrong for what I did. AITA? NTA. First of all, I'm not sure why your fiancé thought it was okay to wake you up after 1 hour of sleep. Lack of sleep causes accidents. Her sister probably knew about the appointment for a while. Should have found another solution. The Syl being pregnant does mean you can be a peach to people who are doing you a favor. She threw the coffee out. You threw her out. Makes sense to me. She wouldn't have missed her appointment if she planned better or just behaved like an actual human. NTA, but I'm still stuck on the page where you're woken up after only an hour of sleep to drive your future Syl to the doctors. So many questions. 1. Why can't she drive? 2. Why and how is this your concern? They couldn't find literally anybody else who slept a normal amount? Being that tired while driving is literally dangerous. 3. She couldn't take an Uber? Or public transportation? In the future, please advocate for yourself. You need 8 hours of sleep. It seems like this is a situation where no one is taking your need for sleep seriously. I don't get the dynamics, but you need to put your foot down. You are not to be wakened except for an emergency. Driving a future Syl to an appointment doesn't qualify as an emergency. Say no. Honestly, the dynamics with your fiancé, future Syl and future Mill, are very concerning. They don't seem to have any regard for you and seem to view you as not quite human, or certainly less important than they are. Who would think it's okay to wake someone up after 1 hour of sleep? Who would think it was okay to berate you after your future Syl threw your own coffee out the car while you were doing her a favor? Please address these dynamics before you marry this woman. NTA, your sister-in-law is playing choosy beggar and she made the wrong choice that day. If your fiancé thinks that you were in the wrong, you should probably hop over to Just Know So and share your story there. NTA, being pregnant isn't some excuse to be a complete ass to someone. Nothing about that was good. But tossing your coffee was WAAAAAY over the line. Who treats someone like that? Sheesh. NTA. I've been pregnant 7 times. You know what you do in this situation? I'm so sorry. But the smell of the coffee is making me sick and I'm working so hard not to barf in your car, but it's touch and go. Is there any chance we can ditch the coffee and I'll give you $5 to get a new one after you drop me? Quote. Throwing someone's coffee out the window is appalling behavior. Even when you're pregnant. There's no excuse for it at all. NTA. I will kick anyone out of my car who treats me like that. Being pregnant is not an excuse to treat people like shit. Worked night shift for years. No decades. If someone tossed my coffee after an hour of sleep while I was driving their stupid ass somewhere, they would be lucky. Throwing them out of my car was all they got. NTA, and simply quit driving her anywhere. And maybe reconsider getting married to anyone who thinks an hour of sleep is enough for you to drive not only yourself but a pregnant woman in a car. Lack of sleep is just as dangerous behind the wheel as a drunk driver. NTA. You did her and your fiancé a favor at your personal expense. Sleep, time, gas, etc. in order to take her to a doctor APPT at a time that you didn't even get consulted for. If your fiancé's sister wanted to completely control her environment, she could have asked the father of the baby. Or driven herself. She also just could have asked for you to please drink faster so that she could get away from the evil coffee. Good luck. NTA. Your Sil behaved like a petulant child. I'd have kicked her out too. NTA. Once she threw the coffee out. She's the That is a completely unacceptable way to behave or treat someone who's helping you. Pregnancy is not a license to be a bully. NTA. Being pregnant is not a free pass to be an ass. And that's exactly how she was acting. I say that as someone who has 5 kids. Had it been me and she asked nicely, I would have considered it, but instead she demanded. NTA. Your Sil is a spoiled child. Being pregnant doesn't give her an excuse to act like she did. You probably should have turned around, driven the 2 of you back to your house, and told your fiancé that her sister getting to her appointment or back to her house was no longer your problem. Your fiancé is also a spoiled child. You might want to seriously reconsider your relationship. You should absolutely not drive any of these psychos anywhere again unless it's someplace you're already going. NTA. I have had 4 children and for each pregnancy I had hyperemesis gravidarium each time and have thrown up so many times it's actually impossible to calculate, including in cars when I was being taken in to the doctors. You go prepared with a vessel to toss your guts into just in case, because you never know what smells will pop up, and if something in particular is strong and getting to you, you bring it up and try to compromise. She's expecting princess treatment and clearly doesn't deserve it, and if your partner can't see sense on this, you have other problems you need to worry about. NTA. There was absolutely no reason for her to toss your coffee. Info. Why couldn't your fiancé or Mill take her? Especially since they knew your sleep schedule and that you would be tired. NTA. That Sil can get a freaking Uber, Lyft or a cab. I'd like to see her badger a taxi driver like that and end up on some Twitter as an example of a Karen. NTA, she was being ungrateful for you passing on sleep to take her to the doctor. You put things away that had sense that bothered her. She tossed your coffee even after you covering it. You both overreacted, but I would have lost my shish 17 too. NTA. You're doing a favor to somebody and for them to insist on you moving everything in your car and then throwing out your beverage as spoiled. Yes, pregnant women do have a heightened sense of smell. Typically, they might want to take their own vehicle. However, that's not always possible, so sometimes they have to put up with taking a public bus or a subway where they have even less control over the smells. It's not her car. It's yours. She's not the first person to be pregnant and have a heightened sense of smell. Nor will she be the last. The difference is that other folks realize that it is what it is and don't insist on everyone changing for them all the time. If driving and public transit are not options, she could use a rideshare service or a taxi. Woman shrugging, medium light skin tone. Info. Why is it your responsibility to drive her anywhere? Question mark, exclamation mark, question mark. NTA, she overstepped the boundaries. You have to respect the coffee.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.